Yesterday, I asked you to imagine standing inside the largest library ever built. It contains billions of books. I want you to go back to the same place. Imagine staying in that same library. Every book is still there. And now every hour, thousands more appear. Some contain remarkable discoveries. Some answer questions you've carried your entire life. Some are completely wrong. But if there's no catalog, no librarian, no shelves, no map, the knowledge exists, but finding it is still a challenge. By the end of the 20th century, the World Wide Web faced exactly that problem. The World Wide Web grew faster than anyone expected. Universities published research and businesses launched websites. Governments shared public records. News organizations, they all expanded online. And individuals created personal pages describing their hobbies or families and ideas. Every day, the collection became larger. The web had solved one extraordinary problem. Knowledge could finally connect itself. But with all of this, where do you even begin? During the earliest years of the web, people organized websites by hand. One of the first successful approaches became the online directory. Instead of searching automatically, editors visited websites, read their contents, and placed them into carefully chosen categories: science, education, business, sports, arts, and travel. One of the best-known examples was Yahoo, founded in 1994 by Jerry Yang and David Filo. Visitors browsed categories, much as they would walk through the aisles of a library. And that approach worked for a while. Every day, though, more websites appeared. Thousands became hundreds of thousands became millions. No group of editors could possibly keep pace. The web had begun growing faster than people could organize it. So engineers searched for another solution. Instead of asking people to build the catalog, what if the computers could build it themselves? The answer to that is a web crawler. It's like a librarian who never sleeps. The moment a new book appears, it reads the book, it records its title, it notes every subject, writes down every reference to other books, then follows those references and repeats the process again. That's pretty much how a web crawler behaves. Beginning with one page, it discovers another, then another, then another. Every hyperlink becomes another path through the web. The crawler doesn't understand the ideas, it simply maps where they all live. Collecting information solved only half of the problem. The search engine also needed to remember everything it discovered. And the answer to that is an index. Back to my book example, the index doesn't contain every page. It contains a carefully organized map showing where important topics appear. Search engines built something similar. Not for one book, but for the entire web. Words became entries, pages became references, billions of documents became one enormous catalog. And so now the computer could answer another question. When someone searches for, volcanoes, which pages should appear first? At first, many search engines relied heavily on matching words. If a page contained the search terms, it appeared in the results. As the web expanded, that approach became easier to manipulate. Some websites simply repeated important words over and over, hoping to appear near the top of every search. The search engine needed another way to measure importance. So during the late 1990s, 2 graduate students at Stanford University began studying the web from a different perspective. Their names were Larry Page and Sergey Brin. They noticed something. Every hyperlink resembles a citation in a scientific paper. Researchers cite work they consider valuable. Web pages often do the same. A page receiving many meaningful links from other respected pages might itself be important. And that idea was called PageRank. Now I want you to notice here what the algorithm measures. It's not popularity alone, it's reputation. A recommendation from a highly respected source carries more influence than one page from an unknown page. The mathematics became complex. The underlying idea remained one as old as humanity. Trust the community. When Google launched in 1998, many people immediately noticed the difference. Search results were more useful, not because Google stored more information, because it organized that information differently. Search completely transformed the web. People no longer needed to remember where knowledge lived. They only needed to describe what they wanted to know. A question became a destination. Behind every search, enormous data centers began performing massive amounts of work. Crawlers continuously explored the web. Indexes expanded across thousands of computers. Algorithms compared millions of possibilities. Results appeared in fractions of a second. The complexity of it all remained almost entirely invisible, well, at least from the user's perspective. The knowledge simply appeared. Search changed something deeper than convenience. For most of our existence, finding knowledge required knowing where to look before asking the question. A library, a university, an expert, a collection of books. Search reversed that relationship. The question came first, and the destination came second. For the first time in history, humanity could ask almost any question and receive an answer within moments. The greatest library ever assembled had finally gained a librarian. But still another challenge emerged, almost immediately. Finding information became easy, but understanding it didn't. Every day, humanity created more knowledge than any individual could possibly read. The problem had changed, but we no longer struggled to locate information. We struggled to keep up with it. And that question defines the next chapter in our story. What happens when knowledge grows faster than human understanding? The answer begins with another remarkable idea. Perhaps the computer should do more than find information. Perhaps it should help us understand it. I want to thank you all for following along with me here. Season 1 of our story began with Aristotle asking whether thought could follow rules, and it ends with billions of computers following those rules together. The journey transformed civilization, not because we taught machines to think, but because every generation built upon the ideas of those that came before. One question led to another. One discovery made the next possible. That chain has never ended. It continues today. And the next chapter has already begun. As I move forward into these series, I have at least 5 of them planned. I ask you if you'll stick around with me, especially if you're enjoying the content. There's a lot for me to build out, and I have at least 5 seasons planned. So I'm going to be doing this for a while. Anyway, if you have any thoughts, comments, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all. I'm going to take a slight break at the end of this, and I've got a couple other videos I want to make probably for the next week or so regarding kind of modern news type stuff, but I'd love for y'all to stick around and grow and engage with this. Anyway, thanks so much. I'm Nomadic IT, and I hope this helps.